versus George 1910 to 1936. King George V, born George Frederick Ernest Albert on June 3, 1865, was the second son of King Edward VII and Queen Alexandra. He ascended to the British throne in 1910, following the death of his father. George V was a figure of great significance in British history, known for his steady and unswerving dedication to his duties as monarch. His reign, which spanned from 1910 to 1936, was marked by both global upheaval and significant changes within the British Empire. George V was not born with the expectation of becoming king. His elder brother, Prince Albert Victor, was originally the heir to the throne but tragically passed away in 1892. As a result, George became the heir, and when his father passed away, he assumed the throne as the King of the United Kingdom and the British Empire, as well as the Emperor of India. The reign of King George V occurred during a time of immense change and turmoil in the world. When he took the throne in 1910, Europe was teetering on the brink of World War I. The political landscape was shifting rapidly, with the emergence of new ideologies, such as socialism and nationalism, challenging established orders. The British Empire, which was the largest in history, was at its zenith but also faced increasing demands for self-governance from its colonies. Leadership during World War I. King George V's leadership during World War I was crucial in maintaining the morale of the British people and the armed forces. His frequent visits to the front lines and his efforts to boost the war effort helped unite the nation during a time of crisis. Adaptation to changing times. George V oversaw the monarchy's adaptation to a rapidly changing world. He recognized the importance of embracing modern communication technologies, such as radio and film, to connect with the public and maintain the relevance of the monarchy. Imperial role. His reign witnessed the British Empire evolve and begin its gradual transformation into the Commonwealth of Nations. George V played a role in managing the complexities of the empire and its diverse range of cultures and territories. Political challenges. The period also saw political turbulence in Britain, including the abdication crisis of his son, King Edward VIII. George V's handling of this crisis demonstrated his commitment to upholding the constitutional monarchy and the stability of the state. His family life was influenced by the strict norms of the British monarchy, characterized by a strong sense of duty. George's father, King Edward VII, was known for his love of socializing and his diplomatic skills. On the other hand, Queen Alexandra, George's mother, was Danish by birth and brought a touch of continental Europe to the British royal family. George had 5 siblings, including his elder brother Prince Albert Victor and younger brother Prince John, and was educated by private tutors. George's life took a dramatic turn when his elder brother, Prince Albert Victor, unexpectedly passed away in 1892 due to pneumonia. This tragic event thrust George into the role of heir to the throne, a position for which he had not been extensively prepared. It was a shift that would change the course of his life, as he was suddenly next in line to become King of the United Kingdom and Emperor of India. This unexpected ascension to the throne came with immense responsibilities and challenges. George, who had served in the Royal Navy and traveled extensively before becoming king, had to quickly adapt to the demands of royal life and the role he would play as the future monarch. Upon the death of his father, King Edward VII, on May 6, 1910, George V ascended to the throne. His coronation took place on June 22, 1911, at Westminster Abbey, in a ceremony that combined centuries-old traditions with the pomp and circumstance expected of a British royal coronation. The early years of George V's reign were not without their challenges. Britain was experiencing a period of political and social unrest, with tensions arising from labor strikes and the women's suffrage movement. The newly crowned king had to navigate these issues carefully while maintaining the dignity and neutrality of his constitutional role. Additionally, Europe was on the brink of a catastrophic conflict that would become World War I. George V, as a constitutional monarch, had to play a pivotal role in supporting the government's war efforts and boosting the morale of the nation during this tumultuous time. World War I, which began in 1914 and lasted until 1918, was a watershed moment during King George V's reign. His role during the conflict was critical in providing leadership, stability, and support to both the government and the British people. King George V recognized the importance of boosting the morale of the troops and the nation during World War I. His actions and presence had a profound impact on both. Visiting the front lines. George V became the first British monarch to visit the front lines of the war. He made multiple visits to troops on the Western Front and in other theaters of the conflict. These visits were not just symbolic. They allowed the king to witness the harsh realities of war and convey his genuine concern for the soldiers' well-being. Supporting war efforts. The king and his family actively supported war-related initiatives. Queen Mary took a hands-on role in nursing efforts, and their children volunteered in various capacities. Their visible involvement in war work inspired the nation and encouraged others to contribute to the war effort. Christmas speeches. King George V's annual Christmas speeches were particularly poignant during the war years. His words of encouragement and solidarity with the troops were broadcasted via radio, reaching millions of homes and boosting the spirits of a nation at war. World War I had profound and lasting effects on both the British monarchy and society as a whole. Shift in public perception. King George V's active involvement in the war effort and his visits to the front lines transformed public perception of the monarchy. He became seen as a symbol of national unity and a source of inspiration during difficult times. Constitutional changes. The demands of wartime governance led to changes in the British political landscape. The war strengthened the role of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, further shifting power away from the monarchy. This marked a transition towards the modern constitutional monarchy seen today. Societal changes. The war had profound effects on British society, including changes in gender roles and expectations. Women played crucial roles on the home front and later in the suffrage movement. The war's trauma also led to significant cultural and artistic shifts, including the emergence of the lost generation of writers and artists. The interwar period, which spans from the end of World War I in 1918 to the outbreak of World War II in 1939, posed a new set of challenges for King George V and the British Empire. Recovery from the war. After the devastation of World War I, the British Empire, like many other nations, had to cope with the physical, economic, and psychological scars of the conflict. The country faced enormous debts, demobilization of troops, and the challenge of reintegrating soldiers into civilian life. Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, formally ended World War I while it established the League of Nations and imposed penalties on Germany. It also left lingering tensions that would contribute to the outbreak of World War II. King George V played a symbolic role in the treaty's ratification, emphasizing the need for lasting peace. The interwar years witnessed significant social and political transformations within Britain and across the empire. Political shifts. The aftermath of World War I saw political changes, including the decline of the Liberal Party and the rise of the Labour Party. The Representation of the People Act in 1918 extended suffrage to more women and working-class men, altering the political landscape. Decolonization movements. The period also marked the beginning of decolonization movements in the British Empire, with India's struggle for independence gaining momentum under leaders like Mahatma Gandhi. George V had to navigate these growing demands for self-governance while preserving the integrity of the empire. Social and cultural changes. The 1920s and 1930s were a time of social and cultural change, known as the Roaring Twenties and the Jazz Age. These decades saw shifts in fashion, entertainment, and attitudes, with new artistic movements and cultural trends emerging. The late 1920s and early 1930s brought severe economic challenges, including the Great Depression, which had a profound impact on both Britain and the wider world. Economic hardship. The global economic collapse of 1929 hit Britain hard. Widespread unemployment, poverty, and economic instability created social unrest. King George V had to address the economic struggles and their impact on British society. Government response. The British government, led by Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald, introduced a series of measures to combat the economic crisis. These included the formation of a national government, austerity measures, and social welfare reforms aimed at alleviating the suffering of the population. King George V's relationship with Queen Mary, born Princess Victoria Mary of Teck, was one characterized by love, companionship, and mutual support. Their marriage was not just a union of two individuals but also a partnership that helped stabilize the monarchy during a tumultuous period. Love and partnership. George and Mary's marriage, which took place in 1893, was marked by genuine affection and loyalty. They shared a strong bond that provided a stable foundation for their family and the monarchy. This love story was a stark contrast to some of the tumultuous royal marriages that had preceded it. Support and counsel. Queen Mary played a vital role as George's confidant and advisor. Her wisdom and discretion were highly valued by the king, who often sought her input on matters of state. Her guidance and support were particularly crucial during the challenging years of World War I and the interwar period. Family life. King George V and Queen Mary were devoted parents to their 6 children: Edward, Albert, who would later become King George VI, Mary, Henry, George, and John. They provided a stable and loving family environment despite the pressures of their royal roles. King George V recognized the importance of maintaining royal traditions as a means of preserving the monarchy's relevance and continuity. Symbol of stability. In an era of profound social and political change, the British monarchy served as a symbol of stability and continuity. King George V understood the significance of upholding royal customs and ceremonies as a way to reassure the British people and maintain their trust. Ceremonial duties. The king and queen were diligent in performing ceremonial duties, such as state banquets, garden parties, and royal tours. These events not only provided opportunities for the royal family to connect with the public but also reinforced the monarchy's role as a unifying institution. Adaptation and modernization. While emphasizing tradition, King George V also recognized the need for the monarchy to adapt to changing times. He embraced modern communication technologies like radio and film to reach a wider audience and connect with the public in new ways. King George V's reign coincided with a period of both the zenith and the decline of the British Empire. His role in shaping the empire was marked by his sense of duty and his commitment to maintaining the cohesion of this vast and diverse imperial enterprise. Empire as a unifying force. George V recognized the British Empire as a unifying force that bound together a multitude of cultures, territories, and peoples. He believed in the importance of maintaining the empire's integrity and saw it as a reflection of the British nation's greatness. Empire tours. The king and queen embarked on extensive tours of the empire during their reign. These tours served not only as a symbol of royal presence but also as an opportunity for the monarch to connect with subjects from all corners of the empire. These visits were highly significant, as they reinforced the sense of loyalty and unity within the empire. Support for empire building. George V supported the expansion and development of the empire. He endorsed policies that encouraged settlement in the dominions, such as Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, as well as initiatives aimed at bolstering imperial trade and cooperation. While the British Empire was a source of great prestige and power, it also presented a range of challenges and complexities for King George V and his government. Decentralized governance. The British Empire was a decentralized entity with a wide range of colonial governments and systems. Managing such a vast and diverse collection of territories required diplomacy, tact, and a careful balancing of local autonomy with imperial oversight. Emerging nationalism. The interwar period saw the rise of nationalism in many colonial territories. Local movements for self-determination and independence challenged the empire's traditional authority. King George V had to navigate these demands while maintaining the empire's unity. Economic interests. The empire's economic interests often clashed with those of other imperial powers. George V had to engage in diplomatic efforts to protect British interests, particularly in regions where rivalries were intensifying. The British Empire began to evolve into the Commonwealth of Nations during King George V's reign, a transformation that would have a profound impact on the post-colonial world. Statute of Westminster. In 1931, the Statute of Westminster granted legislative independence to the Dominions, allowing them to pass laws without requiring approval from the British Parliament. This statute marked a significant step towards the autonomy of these self-governing nations within the empire. Recognition of equality. King George V played a role in recognizing the equality of these dominions and fostering a spirit of cooperation rather than domination. The idea of a family of nations within the Commonwealth began to take shape. Legacy of the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth of Nations, which emerged after World War II, would continue to grow and evolve as a voluntary association of independent countries. It would come to represent a commitment to shared values, cooperation, and diplomacy, with the monarch as the symbolic head of this organization. The period of King George V's reign, 1910 to 1936, witnessed significant shifts in the political landscape of Britain. These changes had a profound impact on the monarchy and the nation as a whole. Political parties. The early 20th century saw the dominance of the liberal and conservative parties in British politics. However, by the end of World War I, a new political force emerged, the Labour Party, which represented the interests of the working class. This shift marked the beginning of a more three-party political system. Women's suffrage. The suffrage movement, which called for women's right to vote, gained momentum during this period. In 1918, the Representation of the People Act was passed, granting certain women the right to vote. Full women's suffrage was achieved in 1928. King George V played a supportive but largely ceremonial role in this historic development. Irish independence. One of the most significant political events during King George V's reign was the establishment of the Irish Free State, later the Republic of Ireland, in 1922. The Irish struggle for independence resulted in the partition of Ireland, with Northern Ireland remaining part of the United Kingdom. Romance and abdication. King Edward VIII's desire to marry Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee, led to a constitutional crisis. The Church of England, of which the monarch is the supreme governor, did not permit the marriage of divorced persons if their former spouses were still alive. Edward's determination to marry Wallis Simpson caused a constitutional crisis, as it was met with strong opposition. The abdication. Unable to reconcile his desire to marry Wallis Simpson with his duties as king, Edward VIII chose to abdicate the throne on December 11, 1936, after less than a year as monarch. This was an unprecedented event in British royal history. King George V had passed away in January 1936, so he did not witness the abdication crisis, but it had a significant impact on the monarchy during the interwar period. Succession of King George VI. Following Edward VIII's abdication, his younger brother, the Duke of York, ascended the throne as King George VI. The new king's reign would be marked by the challenges of leading the nation through World War II. The advent of radio during King George V's reign brought about a revolutionary change in the way the monarchy communicated with the public and the world. Radio as a communication tool. Radio broadcasting became a powerful tool for reaching a mass audience. King George V recognized its potential for connecting with the British people and the wider Commonwealth. He gave the first ever Christmas radio broadcast in 1932, a tradition that continues with the Queen's Christmas message to this day. Humanizing the monarchy. Radio allowed the king's voice to enter the homes of ordinary citizens, making him more relatable and approachable. Hearing the monarch speak in his own words helped humanize the institution of the monarchy, fostering a sense of connection and loyalty among the public. Addressing national and international issues. Through radio, King George V could directly address important national and international issues, such as his Christmas messages during the Great Depression and the lead-up to World War II. These broadcasts provided comfort and reassurance to a nation facing uncertain times. The rise of photography and film in the early 20th century had a profound impact on how the public perceived the monarchy in the world. Visual representation. Photography and film brought the visual dimension of royal life to the forefront. Images of the royal family attending events, tours, and official ceremonies were widely circulated in newspapers and magazines. These visual representations helped create a sense of familiarity with the monarchy. Public interest in royal life. The public's fascination with the royal family's life, from weddings and births to official visits and celebrations, was captured through photographs and films. These media forms played a central role in shaping the public's perception of the monarchy as a symbol of national identity and continuity. Royal events as spectacles. The use of photography and film also turned royal events into spectacles. Crowds gathered to catch a glimpse of the royal family during public appearances, and the media played a vital role in capturing and disseminating these moments. The increasing interconnectedness of the world posed both challenges and opportunities for King George V's reign. Globalization. Advances in transportation and communication meant that news and events from around the world could reach the British public more quickly than ever before. This globalization brought with it a greater awareness of international affairs and the challenges of managing a vast empire. Challenges of news management. The rapid dissemination of news also presented challenges in terms of managing the monarchy's public image. Negative news or scandals could spread quickly, making it imperative for the monarchy to carefully manage its public relations. Opportunities for diplomacy. On the positive side, the interconnected world allowed for more direct communication and diplomacy between nations. The monarchy could play a role in strengthening diplomatic ties and fostering goodwill with other countries. King George V's reign marked a transformative period in the history of the British monarchy and the world. His legacy is one of steadfastness, adaptability, and a commitment to the welfare of the British people and the unity of the British Empire. His reign continues to be studied and remembered for its historical significance and enduring impact on the monarchy and the nations it represents. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it informative, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future.